Everybody, welcome to Andrea Berghout Academy. Today our free lesson will be directed to IELTS reading. I want to remind you that IELTS reading is made out of 3 texts, around 1,000 words that we need to read and whose questions we need to answer. Mihaela is here to tell us what kind of task we have today. Welcome, Mihaela, please.
Hello. So we will work on 2 types of exercises today. There are 2 types of exercises that we haven't worked before, or I think that we haven't worked before. One of them is matching the information with the paragraph in the text, and another one is matching information with the scientist that said or that is quoted in the text. I'm going to share my screen with you with the text and the questions.
Great.
Okay, so remember that because you don't have time to read an entire text, and if you see there, the text is quite large, and you only have 1 hour for 40 questions, that means that you really don't have time to read the text. The text might be also a little bit difficult, the increase in difficulty from the first reading passage to the third reading passage. So you will rely on certain strategies. First of all, you can read the title, Reducing the Effects of Climate Change. So now you know that the entire text is about climate change and how we would reduce the effects. There's also a subtitle. You understand from the subtitle that we actually talk about geoengineering projects and scientists. And you can now anticipate the fact that there are some scientists quoted in the text, and you will probably learn about their opinions and their projects. So the first thing that you're going to do is reading the title and the subtitle. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the questions and see the type of exercises that you have to work with. The first exercise, which is questions 27, 28, and 29, means you have to match the 3 statements here with the 3 types of information with the paragraphs that contain this information. And as we've talked, I think in the previous live reading class, we talked about scanning and skimming. Scanning means that you have to select a specific information from the question or the statement, and you have to find the location in the text. You find which sentence or which paragraph contains that specific information or a synonym or an expression with a similar meaning. And you have to read before and after, and that should give you the answer to your question. Skimming means that you focus on mostly nouns and verbs. When you have to read an entire paragraph in quotes, because you don't really read it, you have to skim it in order to understand the main idea of the paragraph. So we will focus now on scanning.
Which means searching for details.
Right. For searching for details, and we will get the specific information in each of the statements, 27, 28, and 29, and we will find them in the text and try to match with the paragraph. So question 27, which paragraph mentions a geoengineering project based on an earlier natural phenomenon? Now we have geoengineering project. This is an entire text. So it might not be actually the one specific information, the most important specific information that you can use to scan the text, but it's definitely a good one. The one that you would actually use very, very good would be an earlier natural phenomenon. You might not get the word phenomenon. Most likely you won't get the word phenomenon in
of course.
Of course.
Rather a synonym, right?
And you would probably get an example, or you would get a synonym of the word phenomenon. So I'm going to show you the text now, and I'm going to show you actually these 2 paragraphs, C and D. I'm trying to see if I can make it larger. Okay, here. So you can read
now
it.
It's better, yeah.
Okay. And I want you to look at paragraphs and D, and I want you to tell me if in any of those two you find natural phenomenon, one that happened in the past.
Not in paragraph D.
Mm-hmm.
The volcanic explosions.
Volcanic explosions. Okay, we know that the question 27 was a geoengineering project that was based on a past phenomenon, based on, modeled on similar expressions, similar words. I want you now to tell me from paragraph D a similar expression to geoengineering project. Or maybe tell me the project.
This would involve using sulfur and hydrogen sulfide aerosols. So the sulfur, so that's the project.
Okay, that's what the project entail.
Meanwhile, in Russian active geoengineering plans include the planting of millions of birch trees. That says
That's a different
geoengineering.
one. Yes, that's a different project.
There is the concept of releasing aerosol sprays into the
Oh, yes.
Releasing aerosol sprays into the stratosphere. Okay, that would be the engineering project that is based on volcanic explosions.
Right.
Okay, so that means that the answer to question 27 is D.
D.
Right? So your answer would be 27D. 28, an example of a successful use of geoengineering. You need to find an example. Of course, not a synonym of the word example, but an actual example, right? So I'm going to show you again the text, and I will show you the first two paragraphs. So I need you to tell me what is the example.
reducing. Is the reducing our dependency on fossil fuels?
I think that's a purpose more than an example.
Okay.
It's also, you have to find an example that was shown to work.
The most eye-catching idea of all is suggested by Professor Roger Angel of the University of Arizona, and above says about the scheme. Eye-catching idea, it's a successful project.
No, it doesn't say that it's successful. It says that it's interesting.
Okay.
Well.
Well.
I guess it's not that easy, Nina.
In paragraph B, we talk about, there's an example about aircraft having deposited dry ice, silver iodide, and cement powder to disperse clouds. And before that, that's an example. That's what they did in Moscow in order to have a clear sky on a May Day parade. And it worked because for decades, the parades in Moscow have taken place under clear blue skies because they did something. The first sentence of paragraph B says, geoengineering has been shown to work, at least on a small localized scale. So has been shown to work means that it was successful.
Yes.
Right? The example that I'm going to talk about next was successful, at least at a very small, in a small area, or at least for a short period of time. But it worked. So my question 28, an example of a successful use of geoengineering means that I would have to find the project that was successful, one that worked. Now, so that means that for question 28, your answer would be B.
B.
Okay, question 29. A common definition of geoengineering. Your specific information here is definition. Normally, in a text, when you talk about a concept or an idea, where would you usually find the definition of it?
In the beginning, introduction.
At the beginning, right? So in the first, maybe in the first two paragraphs. Logically, it would be in the first paragraph if you're going to introduce a concept, but it might be that in the first paragraph, they talk about something else rather than the definition of it. So you would have to look now at the beginning of the paragraph, and I want you to give me the definition of geoengineering. Read it from the text.
Please.
Geoengineering, a term which generally refers to the intentional large-scale manipulation of the environment. It's
Right.
on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th.
The seventh line.
Yes.
Okay, good. That's it. So we know that normally definitions would be at the beginning of the paragraph. You don't go and skim or scan an entire text or jumble the paragraphs or anything, because you have to also take into account the structure of a text. So that means that for question 29, your answer would be A.
A.
Right? Okay, good. Let's move to the next exercise, where you have to match the quotes to the name of the scientist. Your main strategy here would be, first of all, to look at the name of the scientist, and you will have to scan for the name of the scientist. If you scan for the specific information in each question, that would make it a little bit harder, more difficult for you to do, and that also takes a little bit more time. But if you scan for the name of the scientist, you have to look at their quotes, or you have to look at what the writer says about them, or about their project, or about their work, and then you try to match the type of information that you have in the text with the statement that you have in the exercise. Now, we have A, B, C, D. You have to match 37 to 42, the numbers here, so don't get confused between the letters here. Don't get confused between the letters of the scientist and the letters of the paragraph. Okay, that's a very common and very rocky mistake, so please don't do that.
Yes.
Okay. So we have question 37. We have the effects of geoengineering may not be long-lasting. What does long-lasting mean?
With
You want a
long effect.
Long.
Can you say it again?
De durată. Long
In
lasting.
English? Can you please explain it in English? We don't translate in Romanian.
Sorry.
Long
So
period
long
of time.
lasting is it's not for a long time.
Long-term, long time. Okay, good. So that means that we have short-term effects of geoengineering, right? Now, for question 37, I'm going to give you the answer, and I want you to go and scan the text for the name of the scientist. But for the other ones, I'll let you do it by yourselves. So 37 is Phil Rush. That's B. I'm going to show you the text, and now I want you to scan for his name, Phil Rush. It's in the second part of the text. Let me know which paragraph that is.
E.
E. Okay. Get his coat.
And Dr. Phil Rush of the US. I think all of us agree that if we are to end geoengineering on a given day, then the planet will return to its pre-engineering condition very rapidly.
Okay, so that means that the effect will not last forever. We have this project of geoengineering, but that doesn't mean that they will last forever, that what we create now will definitely be permanent. If we stop geoengineering, the planet will just reverse back to its condition.
Okay.
Okay, good. So that means that you have to interpret a little bit the words in the text, and you try to match with the statement in the exercise. Okay, because he doesn't necessarily say that has a short-term effect or the effect is not permanent, but that's what is implied. That's what he suggests by the words that he uses. Okay, that's the meaning of his statement. Okay, let's now go back to the exercise. Question 38. Geoengineering is a topic worth exploring. Worth exploring means that we should look at this. And now you have Roger Angel, Phil Rush, Dan Lunt, Martin Sommerskorn, and I'm going to show you the text, and I want you to scan quickly the text for each of these scientists and see which one talks about the fact that geoengineering should be researched. Oh, sorry.
In the paragraph G, we found Dr. Dan Lunt. And he says in paragraph G, we found a quote. Does he? Sorry.
What does he say?
A further risk might be worth it.
No, risk and being worth it, it's not really the same thing. A risk is a potential danger.
Oh, in the paragraph H, says Dr. Martin Sommerskorn, I think.
Yeah.
Human-induced climate change has brought humanity to a position where we shouldn't exclude thinking thoroughly about this topic and its possibilities. So it's worth it.
Right. Okay. We shouldn't exclude thinking thoroughly. What does thoroughly mean?
Proper, something, but
More deeper, more
Deeper, right? In detail.
with more interested. Yes.
Think about it really, really well. So we shouldn't exclude thinking about this topic, the topic being geoengineering, which would make our question that it's worthwhile. The geoengineering projects are worth thinking about them. So that means that question 38 is D, because Mr. Martin Sommerskorn was D, letter D in our exercise. Okay, not paragraph H. Question 39. It may be necessary to limit the effectiveness of geoengineering projects. Necessary to limit the effectiveness. You have to keep that in mind. Now, because for questions 37 and 38, you would have already scanned the 4 scientists, it should be a little bit easier now to go and scan maybe only one scientist, or maybe 2 of them if you're unsure of if you cannot remember what the scientist said. Because as you progress with an exercise like this, you do retain information from the previous questions. So it should be easier and easier to do the next questions as you finish the exercise. So if we talk about limit the effectiveness of geoengineering projects, can you please eliminate some of the scientists here?
From the list, not eliminate them completely, right?
From the list A, B, C, D. Can we eliminate D, Martin Sommerscombe?
Yes, because he doesn't say to limit. He says keep on discovering, keep on going.
Yes. Okay, we can eliminate
Also-
that one.
Also,
As you
Rush.
can-
He has
Also
about
Rush, you say.
Still Rush.
long-lasting, long-term investigations. So
Okay,
only
so that means that we will look at Roger Angel and Dan Lunt,
yes.
right? Okay.
Mhm.
Is Dr. Dan Land. Land says Angel's project would have to operate at half strength, all of which reinforces his view that best options to avoid the need for geoengineering altogether.
Right, so that's limit the effectiveness of geoengineering. To limit means to put a limit to something, and to operate at half strength would mean
Mhm.
that you limit the strength or the force of this project.
Mhm.
Actually, you have it. You make it in half. Okay,
Okay.
so you see elimination works. When you work with an exercise from question to question, eliminating different options.
Excluding different options.
Excluding.
You talk too much into the Putin style today.
Sorry. Okay. Question 40. Research into non-fossil based fuels cannot be replaced by geoengineering. Which one will you actually look at?
Roger Angel.
The last
Roger
one.
Angel, why?
Because it's the last one.
Because he was not used until now.
Yes.
Okay, so let's look. Can you see, if I leave the screen like this, can you see the text?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay,
So Angel says that his plan is no substitute for developing renewable energy.
right.
Which paragraph is that?
E, sorry.
That's paragraph E. The second
Okay.
line of the paragraph.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay, so, but about Dr. Angel, we also have paragraph B. Normally, you would go at the beginning of the text and see where exactly do we have Roger Angel. Also, because in the previous exercises, you've seen his name in paragraph B when we worked with paragraph B. But you don't. You have to try not to get confused between the paragraphs. Now you know that paragraph B talks about a certain project, but the second part of the text is about the quotes of the scientist, and is about the scientists in particular, not necessarily on the projects, but more on their opinion and what they do and what they say and so on. So if you have the presence of spirit during the exam, you would focus on the part of the text that works on and that talks and that writes about that type of information that you're looking for. I would also suggest that you quickly scan the text, maybe at the end of the exercise, or if you have time at the end of the exam, you scan the text just to make sure that you got the right information and that there isn't somewhere else in the text where they talk about that. But if you got the right answer, then you can be certain that that's the right answer because you can match very well the language in the text with the language in the question. For the purpose of your training and for the purpose of making sure that you got the right information and that the language matches, the vocabulary matches, then I would suggest that you also try to get, try to scan and look at information throughout the text. Now, I have one more question and then we will stop. I want you to look at paragraph B, the third sentence. Many of the schemes now suggested look to do the opposite. And I want you to tell me exactly this sentence that I've just read. I want you to tell me what it means, look to do the opposite.
If you're reading in the beginning of the sentence, for example, they say for decades, there have been parades placed under the clear sky, under clear blue skies. They want to do the opposite and reduce the amount of sunlight reaching the planet. So they need to stop those parades.
Okay, so the verb look to do actually means the purpose of it is to do the opposite. Okay, it's not the verb to actually look with your eyes, right, or to see something. And you also have to understand that many of the schemes now suggested that's the entire subject to your sentence. Suggested is not the verb to suggest, is actually the past participle. They are suggested.
A passive voice. A passive voice.
It's a passive voice because your actual verb is look to do, the opposite. So this is it. I can stop sharing now.
Yes, please. Thank you very
Okay.
much, Miha. This has been a great lesson and I hope you enjoyed it. One up was pretty tough there, leading us, right?
I need glasses.
I don't think so. I think you managed very well without glasses. I wait to see you without needing glasses.
Thank you.
So you have great potential. Thank you everybody for coming here and being here with us today. I hope this lesson has been helpful. And
Yes.
you know, if you have any answers, you know where to find us, and contact at andreaberekhout.com. See you next week with another free lesson. Take care.